much larger bulls is a tool called an emasculator. So when you do those, you still do what's called an open castration, where you do actually make an incision into the scrotum, which is that. The biggest thing with this, though, is that it actually ends up crushing the cord before I cut it myself. So unlike with the emasculator that's been going around, where there's a rubber band or a rubber core that actually helps constrict the blood flow, I am manually doing it with this instrument, with the intention that, again, we're cutting blood flow off so that nothing bleeds, nothing causes any problems with blood loss after the fact. Okay, this is pretty darn safe. Just don't stick your finger in the middle and play with it. Pretty darn safe. There are some other tools. One's called an emasculotome, and it has a similar idea. It pinches and cuts off blood flow. It's another one that we consider a bloodless one, much like the elastrator that I just passed around previously. What you do is you kind of clamp over each individual cord within the scrotum. Same idea is that you are cutting off blood flow, and then it falls off and does itself on its own. Okay. And then, as I said, what we're going to do today is an actual surgical castration. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to not only remove those to cut the scrotum, but I'm also going to remove those testicles. Really, really like it in this age of calf. They tend to do really well. They don't bleed all that much because there's not a lot of blood flow to that area at this point in their lives. And we know that we have those testicles completely removed. We didn't accidentally crush the wrong thing. There's no problem with potential for infection because we've gotten rid of any tissue that would be there. So everything just kind of heals back over like any other skin incision or any other skin would. What questions do you guys have?
How come a blow?
What'd you say?
How come a blow?
So this gal's definitely going to get a lot bigger before anything else. Now, a male calf, so a bull calf, it's going to grow a lot bigger if we keep those testicles intact. But we purposely take them away. One, because when we keep those testicles intact, they might get bigger in size, but they also tend to have a lot more attitude issues. They're a bigger safety concern with how big they are with people handling them. Whereas when they get castrated, they tend to have a little bit more docile personality. They don't have nearly as many hormones that are encouraging them to do more aggressive behavior. But we're probably going to get pretty big. I would guess, even castrated, probably at least 1,000 pounds, probably closer to 1,500. It's going to be big. Yeah. What other questions?
As far as sedation goes,
Yep.
so like, it's not always something that people do, right? But we're gonna do sedation today.
Yeah, so I really like sedation in these guys. One, because it makes it easier for me. Two, because it makes it more pleasant for them. If you were going to go and have somebody do a surgical procedure on you, you'd like to kind of be a little out of sorts, not really know what's going on. So the sedation makes them a little calmer, makes the procedure easier for me, and makes it a little better for them. Not everybody does, though. There are plenty of guys that will do, or veterinarians that will do larger cattle in a chute system that will still do an open castration, that just run them through the chute, take them off, let them out, right? So that is a pretty typical thing. It's a lot more common out west than it is here in the Midwest. But that's usually because they're working lots of cattle. They don't have time to watch them get sleepy. They don't have time to make sure that they recover well. It's more a numbers game than anything else. There's a lot of debate as to whether that is considered humane or inhumane, or where you draw that line. And I think usually that's kind of up to the producer and the individual veterinarian that's helping that producer to kind of make that decision. So I like sedation. We use a little bitty IM injection. It's a medication called xylazine. It is legitimately a sedative. It has very small amounts of pain control to it. We are also going to pair that with what we call a local block. So we're going to use lidocaine, which is a topical or injectable anesthetic that we're going to use in the area of the testicles. That way there's also a lack of sensation there. So it's going to help with pain when we go to take them out. It's also going to help with any kind of pain after. In fact, the other thing that we really like about lidocaine is it causes what we call vasoconstriction. So it causes So those tend to work really well. And just because cows are pretty dirty and we're dealing with the hind end, where there's a high rate for a little bit of manure or material, I usually give individual ones like this an antibiotic as well. So we're going to use an antibiotic called C, because again, if you had a big incision on your butt, close to all those other things, you definitely want to make sure that we can keep that clean and keep it from getting infected. So we're going to do a little longer term antibiotic. It's going to last for the next 3 to 5 days, just to give us time to have it all get healed up really nicely. Other Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Are you staying? You can't. Ready? This is going to be the most painful. Not there.
Is this the lidocaine?
So this is the lidocaine. You don't want it to go IV though. You want to get it around the cord, but not in the cord.
Okay.
It can be pretty darn bad if you do.
So the blood in the needle tells you that it was in the.
Yeah, so that's why
Gotcha.
she pulled
Oh,
out
cool.
and went for a different place.
Cool.
Is his leg enough out of the way?
Yes, his leg is plenty enough out of the way. There's no time you move his. I'm gonna have you. Because there's time you move his leg, it makes his arm fall forward. And I'm gonna need this room. I'm gonna get to help disinfect the area. I'm using sterile gloves, but again, this is not a sterile procedure. It's clean. All right. So again, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take that scrotum, push the testicles up, find that fleshy bit. I know, dude. I'm just gonna, keep it kicking. And then we're just gonna cut straight across. All right, and then when we do surgical like this, he's young enough. We take that testicle out, we stretch. You want to move the water cord and then came back out. I know,
Why
dude.
can't you cut that?
So we could, but stretching is better because stretching also causes vaso constriction,
Oh, okay.
so you're less likely to get blood.
So just cutting that, he'd bleed a lot
He'd
more.
bleed a whole heck of a lot more than what stretching does. That's it. So what we're going to do is we're going to give him an injectable anti-inflammatory like we talked about. We're going to give him a local or injectable antibiotic, and that's it. Pretty easy peasy. No closing, no anything. It stays over the
Right
joint.
here.
And it just slides under the skin.
Yep. And this stuff is super thick,
Oh.
which is why it takes forever to go in.
Oh, I see.
So there's just a little bubble under the skin.